The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you.
Hello and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by...
the guy with latex gum that's all over his face, that is Eric Velasquez. My pronouns are also he, him.
Yeah, so we're back with... Okay, so... I've kept hinting that there's a lot of debate over what counts as a Island of Blood movie. This one, most people don't consider it one, but I still thought it was worth talking about. So a little bit of backstory here before. So we're talking about Brain of Blood. I guess I should say that right away.
Yeah.
Which does not take place on the Island of Blood. Mostly, I think it's
very little to do with blood, except for it's being thrown in there and taken out.
Yeah. So I think there may have been a couple times when we've been discussing this that I said AIP was involved in this, and I was misspeaking there. It is IIP. So AIP is American International Productions. They did all the Roger Corman stuff, and they've done I Was a Teenage Frankenstein, and brought the Toho movies to America. So they did Frankenstein Conquers the World and stuff. So we've definitely dealt with AIP, but IIP is Independent International Productions, and they're much smaller, and basically all they really did was release all of the Al Adamson movies, but they tried to get bigger, and these Blood Island movies were their one attempt at being like AIP and importing foreign stuff to American drive-thrus. But so as Eddie Romero got tired of doing the Island of Blood movies and wanted to do his own thing, he basically he started a genre called the Machete Maidens genre, which is just basically hot girls in the jungle fighting bad guys with machetes.
Softcore is what you were saying.
Yeah. So he pivoted to that, and IIP was but the Blood Island movies were doing so good at the drive-ins, we want more of that. So the Sam Sherman, the guy who kind of ran IIP, was all right, Al, make a Blood Island movie, and he made this instead. So it was supposed to be a Blood Island movie, but it's not really. But it is pretty much a Frankenstein movie in a lot of ways. So it still definitely fits our thing. But that recent box set that just came out of all the Blood Island movies, this one's not in there because it's really not related in any way. It's not Eddie Romero. It's not the whole. It's not that whole crew it's not even in the Philippines in any way. So it's just an American production. So, all right, so that's our history lesson.
Yeah, that's our history lesson for today.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
But, Al Adamson, who did this one, we've dealt with him in the past with Frankenstein versus Dracula. And we'll obviously see there's a lot of connections from that movie and this one. A lot of cast carries over. Yeah, I guess you want to just get into it?
Let's get this party started. So first off, I want it noted, we've got a guy from the previous Blood Island movie in this Blood Island movie. Kent Taylor.
Yes. Yeah, so
AKA
he's a new
one
character.
part of Clark Kent.
Yes, yeah. So he's obviously a different character in this. There's no continuity there, but yes, he's our sort of villain we'll get to eventually.
Right, villain protagonist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, wait a second. We have a couple other people that are it's really interesting to see the cross-section of this movie, because we have one, Blood Island, to Mad Max or the Road, or is it the Road Warrior? No, Beyond Thunderdome. Sorry. Then we also have the cross section of Dracula versus Frankenstein.
Yes.
What a wild group we have assembled here. So Angelito Rosito, a.k.a. Master of the Master Blaster fame, is the little person assistant to Kent Taylor's character, Trenton. Let me pull up his name real quick, just so I don't misspeak it. I think they say Darrow. At least that's what I have. Okay.
Yeah. Darrow or Doro, something like that. And then we have their sort of assistant, Gore.
Right. But the other person I was talking about is Zandor Volkov. Interesting thing about Zandor here, who he was our Dracula in Dracula versus Frankenstein, or Frankenstein versus Dracula. Dracula versus Frankenstein, sorry. The dude's original name was Raphael Peter Engel.
Yeah,
I guess he liked the screen name.
Yeah, I think IIP was like, you should have a cool screen, a cool name for your horror movie roles or whatever, and that's the name that they came up with.
Sure, why not, right?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
The other half of Dracula versus Frankenstein, the Frankenstein in it is Gore. His name's John Bloom. Not to be confused with the other John Bloom, aka Joe Bob Briggs. But Gore, the big guy, he's got a different set of weird face makeup in this. It's not the foam potato Frankenstein. It's more just like fake burn scar, acid burn scars, I think is what they're supposed to be. But
right.
So yeah, we got a lot of familiar faces, but familiar only to weirdos like us, not particularly like that guy type actors like we usually talk about.
No, these are deep cuts for sure.
Yeah, more like who is that actors?
Right. We're very excited. By the way, yeah, it is Doro for sure. But yeah, we're very excited to see these guys, but no one else is. So for some reason, I'm assuming this is supposed to be the Middle East because they use names like Amir and Muhammad. However, we're going to start on the Taj Mahal. So I would say something about how this is like racist, but I'm not sure it is because it's just so wildly incorrect. Or maybe it is just so much that it's like my mind has spiraled in on itself because of it.
Yeah, it's definitely like, a bunch of white guys in like the Midwest of America just being like, let's make a fake exotic place. I don't know.
India is the exact same as the Middle East. Yes.
Yeah. It's like they have a fictional country name. I've forgotten it already, but like...
yeah, isn't it just Khalid?
Yeah, that sounds right, yeah.
Like, that's just a name. That's a dude's name.
Right. And so in the palace, we meet, like...
the country of Bob. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. We meet Amir, who is the leader of this country. And it seems... It kind of feels like this is a small nation based on, like...
Yeah.
Amir is very concerned for his people. Like it feels like he has a direct connection to his people in the way that like, the leader of like, Saudi Arabia is not like concerned with like the little guy, Yeah. And he's old and he's dying and,
but he's beloved in his country.
Yeah. And they've tried everything. It seems like he has some sort of cancer. They've tried uranium treatments, which I'm guessing is their version of like, radiation stuff for cancer.
They don't just stop at like radiotherapy. No, these sons of bitches go hard. They're like, we're putting pure nuke in you, buddy.
Yeah. And as you said, with it being sort of Middle East, like Muhammad, who is Zandor Vorkov, he's like saying that they're going to pray to Allah, that he can live. But Amir is like, okay, do that. Go outside and pray. I need to talk. Muhammad has brought an American woman that Amir requested, and this is Tracy, the sort of blonde bombshell of this movie. and she has orchestrated a controversial and experimental procedure that's going to take place in America.
Right. So the plan is they're basically going to let him die here, not tell anyone about it, fly his body to America, and get him a brain/body transplant.
Mm-hmm. And they even, like, the idea is they're going to try to transplant his brain into a body that looks kind of like him and then do some plastic surgery to fudge the details.
Right. It's like they already knew about Saddam Hussein and his body doubles.
Yeah. Amir, he's kind of fallen in love with Tracy, and he's like, if this all works, you can be my bride, and we can rule Khalid together. Right. After that, but
also pay Dr. Trenton whatever he demands if this succeeds.
Yeah. So they have a doctor here that I forget I know his name
Bob.
is Robert.
Dr. Bob.
Yeah. I don't know if they ever say his last name, or if they do, it didn't really stick. Or it's like a really long, weird name like that.
Yeah.
That's why I just could not quite wrap my head around what they were saying. But yeah, everybody just calls him Bob or Robert. And so yeah, Tracy and Robert are going to take his body over to America, and so we go to credits from there. We get a lot of they're really good with, they in the last movie they had like all the diagrams of the monster's head. Here we just get a lot of cool brain diagrams. It's vaguely in the vein of like Reanimator, but a little lower budget.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is saying something.
Yeah. When we come back from credits, we have the Dr. Bob and Muhammad. They're transporting Amir's body
in tinfoil. I love the fact that it's just tinfoil.
Yeah.
They don't bother putting him in like a casket with ice or anything. The dude's just sealed up like a sandwich.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And Muhammad is like, he's really worried. He doesn't think this is going to work. But Dr. Bob is like, I gave him, I injected him with a serum. He's not going to deteriorate. We will revive him. Once we do the whole process, we'll be back in 10 days. Right. And Muhammad's like, are you sure? And Dr. Bob's like, I have to be sure. I might be a little nervous that it's not going to work, but right now all we can do is just believe and work as hard as we can and really hope.
Right. So they take him and I guess he did have a casket, sort of, but they take him into a fancy garage basement lab thing.
So there they meet Dr. Trenton's assistant, Doro, as we mentioned. Just brilliant little person actor, Angelo Rosito. He's been in so many great things. Just a great actor. And then Dr. Trenton comes in afterwards. So we have basically our whole crew here, and they're unwrapping the body. And they're like, okay, where's the replacement body? And Trenton's like, we're waiting on it. It should be here soon.
Right. We just, it's just taking a moment. That's all.
And Muhammad's like, you didn't have a body? There are so many people in our country who would have gladly and willingly given their lives to bring Amir back. Why didn't you tell us you weren't ready for us? Right. And Trenton's like, don't worry, we've got it. We got a plan, and we're gonna get somebody who looks just like Amir. The plastic surgery will match. Everything's gonna be great.
Right, there's no chance of failure here. We're going to succeed.
Yeah. So they go right into the surgery.
By the way, I like that he takes the time to say, this special device that I have created will allow me to cut through the skull without damaging the brain. Dude, that's just a bone saw. And you being careful. That's all that is. But
yeah.
Okay.
And so as they get going on the surgery, we cut away to outside where there's a man walking through like an alley, being followed by, Gore, the monstrous giant of the movie. And we hear like a voiceover of Trenton. It's like Gore is remembering this. Remember, a strong, healthy body. So he's like, maybe this guy.
Right. And it looks like the guy he's looking for something. But the guy is doesn't seem to know that Gore's there.
Yeah,
right.
This is kind of like a funny little, it's sort of an unnecessary bit.
It is.
We often have henchmen killing people for bodies and stuff, but we don't usually spend time with what that person is up to. They're just in the alley, they get killed. But this guy is like a robber. He climbs up a fire escape.
He's a thief.
He sneaks into a house. He starts rifling through drawers.
A lady comes in.
Yeah.
She doesn't see him.
Yeah, he hides in a closet. And we have like the woman, she just thinks she's home alone, of course, so she has to take off her top because that's what ladies do when they're home alone, right?
Yeah. Well, from my understanding with my wife, it is, but it's not just walk around with boobs out.
Yeah, but that's what we got to do for this movie. And so eventually she even opens the closet, but the guy's like hiding back in the clothes. She doesn't see
I love
him.
how he props himself up and like contorts himself to be just on the other side of the closet. Like he knew she was going to open only that one side.
Yeah. But then she turns and, Gore has followed the robber into the house and she sees him, which is probably worse than seeing a robber, honestly. So she screams and passes out.
Right.
And
the thief's like, wait, what happened? What the fuck happened?
Yes, but he takes the opportunity and tries to escape. He starts running down the fire escape, but Gore follows, grabs him, throws him off the fire escape, killing him.
Yeah. You ruined him. But can I throw something in there? This kind of bothered me while I was watching the movie. So we take all this unnecessary time for this guy, right? But we don't take any time with the girls that were abducted. By the way, did you know that? Because we're going to find that out in a moment, in a bit. Random girls got abducted.
Yeah, there's not really... They seem to just be there to be like a weird plaything for Doro. It's very strange. Yeah, we'll see.
So why wouldn't, logically, if I was the director and I'm trying to save money, I'm not going to hire other actors. I'm going to use Catherine as the person whose house the guy stuck into. That way there's a point to the whole fucking thing.
Right, yeah, that would have made so much more sense.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
But so as this whole home invasion situation's going on, we've been sort of intercutting scenes of the surgery. They're removing Amir's brain. We get it goes on a while at points. I think it's just it's cheap gore. They can do the slow brain removal and everything.
Right. And this is definitely silicone skin at this time, with blood being pumped through it.
Yeah. It eventually, once they get the brain out, they put it in a bowl, which is full of liquid, and they connect wires to it. They seal it in this incubator box. And so here is where we finally do meet these women and find out what they're there for, which is really nothing. Which is basically they need a constant supply of fresh blood to keep the brain alive while they're waiting for the body. So they're just blood bags in the basement, basically.
Yeah. What's the best source of blood? Apparently young women who have been tortured and starved. They're a great source of blood, I guess.
Yeah. So Doro goes down, and they're both chained up. He's just awful. He was awful in Dracula versus Frankenstein as well. They use him as just this sort of sadistic imp kind of character, So he kind of he has the keys to their chains and just kind of dangles them in their faces. They're begging him to free them. One of the girls says, "Why don't you just kill us and get it over with?" And he's like, "Nah, we need you alive." So he pulls out a syringe and draws it from one of the girls. The other girl is like, "Why do you always use her blood? What am I here for then?" And he's like, "I'll be patient. We'll get to you." Basically,
we gotta expire this one.
Yeah, we're going to use this one up and then we'll start in on you. So as he's trying to draw the blood from the other girl, she's kind of resisting, and he's like, "You can calm down and let me draw your blood, or I can bring Gore down and we can make it a lot less pleasant." And, that she gives in, lets him draw the blood. And then upstairs, as this is all going on, Muhammad is continuing to kind of nag Trenton about are you sure this is going to work? He's very nervous. He Dr. Bob works for Amir. He's definitely a loyal, member of the nation of Khalid, but he's an employee. Muhammad is a devotee. He loves Amir. He's like a disciple. So he's particularly like, are you sure this is going to work? I want to take care of Amir. I want to make sure everything's okay. And Trenton is like, leave me alone. I am the doctor here. I'm the scientist here. You're just, this idiot sycophant, and like, you're in my way. I know what I'm doing. This is my life's work. And so he kind of like he's like, just go away. And Muhammad's like, okay, I will be back in 3 days to retrieve Amir. If you're not ready, or if everything's not done by then, I'm gonna make some consequences for you. Basically, I don't think he really has a plan, but it's a kind of an empty threat.
I'm gonna cause a problem, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, the doctor's like, all right, bye. And then Bob's like, all right, yeah, I'll be with you guys in a bit. I'm just going to help the doctor. And he's like, no, you get to leave too. Bye.
Yeah. And Bob's like, but I'm a doctor. Like, you should use me here. Like, I've got all this training. And Trenton is like, I've got Doro. And he's like, but Doro's like just a guy. Like, he's not a doctor. And Trenton's
more
like,
training than you.
Yeah, I have all kinds of special processes that I'm doing here, and I've been training Doro in them, and you don't know what I'm up to. So, yeah, like, we've got it under control. Yeah. And so
clearly, as they leave, Muhammad is already plotting to do some shit.
Mm-hmm. But so, yeah, Muhammad and Bob get in a car to drive away, and as soon as they're out of the room, Trenton gets on the phone and is like, they just left. You know what to do, and hangs up. At that point, Gore comes in carrying the body of the robber. Trenton is like, what the fuck? All I told you was you need to bring a good, solid, healthy body. This guy's all smashed up. You threw him off a building.
Right. He's
like, what are we going to do? We need the body now. Like, we cannot wait.
Well, we do have a healthy body here.
Yeah, so we have Gore. And Doro's like, no, Gore and I can go out. We'll get a new body real quick. We'll be right back. And Trenton's like, nope, no time. We're just going to have to put the brain in Gore.
Yeah, which is sad, but whatever. Sure, why not? So then we cut to a random dude smoking cigarettes, and he's waiting for Muhammad and crew to pass, and he starts immediately, like, tailing them.
Mm-hmm. They see him and they're like, oh, maybe he's trying to pass, but like he's not. He's clearly like
trying to run him off the road.
Yeah, it becomes a car chase. By the way,
so you're telling me the leader of even a small country who's doing this clandestine surgery effectively, his bodyguards don't have guns? Like, I feel like they should be like, hey, Bob, pull over so we can shoot this guy a couple times.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it seems wild that, they don't seem... Muhammad, for all of his like devotion, doesn't seem very competent, and Dr. Bob is just a doctor.
Yeah, what's he gonna do, right?
Yeah. So they do. The guy pursuing them does manage to run their car off the road in like a classic car off the cliff down into a quarry and exploding kind of scene.
Yeah, man, they packed that thing full of explodium, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But Dr. Bob manages to, like, fling himself out of the car as it's going over the cliff. So he's okay, but Muhammad doesn't make it. Muhammad gets...
Well, he's not entirely okay, because his hand does get wounded in the tumble, fall, wreck.
Yeah. The thug that, like, orchestrated all this, he sees the car explode. He does not see Dr. Bob get out. So he's like, great, got them both. Job well done. Awesome. So he heads out, and then we go... back to the lab where...
Gore's literally pleading for his life. He's like, please don't hurt me. Please.
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Trenton is like, oh, I would never hurt you. And he's like putting a laughing gas mask on his face as he's saying
Just remember when I saved you from those guys spilling acid on your face. Just remember that traumatic incident, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, and then we do get a flashback of this where... So we find out, like, Gore was just like this kind of like... big dumb redneck guy, just
well, he was mentally, I don't want to I guess mentally stalled. Sure, why not? Basically, he didn't grow past being a child.
Yeah. And yeah, he's like walking around. He's got like a toy laser pistol. He's sort of playing in the woods. He bumps into these two other guys working on a car. And, they're jerks and see this guy that like is clearly deficient in some way that like they want to mock and belittle. Yeah. So they take his toy gun away from him. They're playing keep away. One of them ends up smashing it. And when he does that, Gore gets upset and, like, you know, hits one of the
Smashes
guys.
his face against the hood of the car.
Mm-hmm. And as that's happening, the other guy grabs a shovel and hits Gore, knocking him to the ground, and he's kind of knocked out or dazed at least.
And because these guys are so awesome, they just take a car battery and empty the battery acid onto him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So back in the present, the surgery's complete, and Trenton is like, you know, Gore's very strong and hardy, that he'll recover quickly. And Doro's like talking to him like, my friend, are you okay? And Trenton is like, he's not Gore anymore. Like, Gore's body is resilient, but it's Amir's brain in there.
Right, and Dora's like, oh, that was my only friend. Sad face. It would hit a little bit harder if you weren't a monster, dude. If you weren't like a torturing women.
Yeah, and the movie's quick to remind us that, because Trenton's like, what about your other friends, the ones in the basement?
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, I'll go play with them right now. Thank you.
Yeah. When he gets down there, one of the women is unconscious, so he unchains her, and like just tries to drag her upstairs, which is, you know, difficult. She's a 5-something woman, and he's a little person. And the other lady is like, you know, begging, like, don't hurt her. What are you doing? Where are you taking her? And he, you know, doesn't answer.
Right, but apparently as he leaves, he dropped the keys, and he didn't hear the tingle as they hit the pavement, but whatever. And Catherine is an industrious woman, so she's like, I'm taking those keys and getting the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, she does manage to unchain herself.
By the way, her shoes were nearby. Like, I feel like if you're going to take the time to take her shoes off, you're going to not keep them near her. Is that me?
Yeah, it's strange. I don't know what the purpose of that was.
Right.
So she tries to just like go upstairs, but obviously the door is locked. So she
hold on, Anthony. The door is locked, but she has keys.
Yeah, and
she doesn't even try it.
Yeah, it's not just one key; it's a whole key ring. Like surely there could have been something else going on there.
Right, at least give it a shot, right?
Yeah.
Well.
So she's trapped in the basement. She does find a torch and just sort of like starts exploring. And it's like this massive cavernous basement with all these different passageways and everything.
It's our haunted house, basically, for now.
Yeah. She ends up finding Amir's corpse that is still wrapped in tinfoil.
Yep. Some random dude just like hanging up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But so we cut away to a plane landing, and it's Tracy. She has now also come back to the U.S. And Dr. Bob is there to meet her, and he says there was a wreck,
and Muhammad's dead.
And she's like, she's not really particularly sad about the death.
Yeah. I feel like Muhammad was her competition, though, right? They had kind of an animosity towards each other to a degree.
Yeah, they both definitely have like deep love for Amir. It's different love, and there's like some jealousy there because of that. Yeah. She's like, I'm sorry you were in an accident, and he's like, no, it wasn't an accident.
Right. Somebody's trying to kill.
Yeah, and I don't know who's responsible. I don't know what's going on. And she's like, I wonder if Trenton is involved, and he's like, why would he? Like, his only hope for like vindicating his mad science is a success with us. So like,
and she's like, well, you don't know him like I did. Why did you bring him in if you knew he was a little cuckoo?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's clearly got some weird motivations of her own.
Right.
And yeah, she's like, well, I don't trust his motives, but I trust his skill. Yeah. And then so Bob's like, I guess we should go check on him then. Like, if you don't even trust what he's up to, we should, we weren't supposed to go back for like 3 days, but like now I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So
we'll have a brief interlude with Catherine still walking the halls, getting barked at by that guy. She finds a really sketchy barrel that means nothing and just sits down beside it to basically pass out. Mm-hmm. And that's that. That's all that scene is. I don't know why it's there. It's there.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we have the guy who ran the car off the road calling Trenton to say the job's done. And Trenton is like, great, you know the agreed upon location. Go there. Doro will meet you with a payment.
Right, exactly. Which, that's sketchy too. Sure. What?
Yeah.
You know. But then Bob and Tracy go barreling past the guy as he's on the phone, and Bob's like, "Wait, this is the motherfucker. That's the dude who did it."
Yeah. So they get out of the car and start chasing after him, or Bob does. Tracy just sits there watching, just smoking. She doesn't seem concerned at all, which again is like a big red flag that she's got her own thing going on here.
Right.
But then Doro arrives. He watches as the chase is going on. There's a whole big rooftop chase. It goes on for a while.
There's a little bit of a fight scene there.
Yeah. So eventually he gets away. He gets to a car, jumps in, puts the keys in the ignition, and the car explodes. And Doro.
That was the payment.
Yeah. Doro gleefully laughs. That was the whole plan. So then Dr. Bob and Tracy are like, what was that about? Like, who did that? There's definitely a lot more machinations going on here than we're aware of. We're definitely mixed up in things much bigger than us.
But Tracy's pretty sure. She's like, this is Trenton. He's doing this.
So back at the lab, Trenton is like, all right, as soon as Amir gets things together, or heals up, we'll be ready. We're gonna flee the country. We'll go to somewhere where people will appreciate us.
Right. Dora's like, will we take the girl, the one girl that remains? Trenton's like, no, we're not taking her. She's gonna stay here.
And Dora's like, that's fine. I didn't really like her that much anyway. And he says, is Gore dead? And Trenton's like, well, it depends on what you mean by dead.
Right. Brain dead, yes.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
So I've proven that great minds can be immortal through these transplants. So one day, I'm going to rule a country of immortal geniuses.
Right. So that's the plan. And Doro's like, oh, yeah, but what's going to happen to you, though? You're the only one who knows how to do your stuff.
Yeah, so I'll have to train somebody else so they can put my brain in other bodies so that I can be immortal as well.
Right. Not you, Doro.
And Doro's
like,
will you move me to a bigger body? And he's like,
no,
nah.
I don't trust you in a bigger body.
Yeah, I like you the way you are. I like being able to control you.
Right. What a fucking psychopath this guy is.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, also the message of Doro being fine the way he is great and all, but the reasoning is awful.
Yeah. It's definitely, I feel like even back in the Universal movies, we've definitely had this thing of like mad scientists sort of stringing along, misshapen, deformed sidekicks, whether they're hunchbacks or whatever, and like promising but never fulfilling on the promise that they'll give them a better body.
Well, they're tantalizing them. They're hanging. It's the carrot instead of the stick.
Yeah. Until
they need the stick.
Yeah, definitely.
But then we get a scene where Catherine does see her friend just being dead on a hook.
Yeah. She gets scared by that. Like her whole bit. Like I think it's just to pad the movie. She's just running around. Like you said, it's a haunted house. She's just going through. She gets scared by like rats and rubber tarantulas and skeletons hanging from the ceiling and stuff. It's just, yeah. But then we go back to Dr. Bob and Tracy arriving back at Trenton's. They go inside, and Doro's like, Trenton is down in the lab. So they go down to talk to him. And as soon as they're, out of sight, Doro starts fucking with their car. He's going to, do the same thing again, basically.
Right. If he's not planning a bomb, he's at least tearing something out to where it's not working.
Yeah. And so Tracy walks into Trenton's lab first, and Trenton's like, "Oh, Tracy," and she's like, "Shh." And Dr. Bob walks in behind her, and so clearly Trenton was expecting Tracy, but she wanted to make sure that he knew not to say anything with Dr. Bob right behind her. So clearly they are in cahoots. He's like, Robert, you're back so soon. And right away, Dr. Bob has like no chill. He's like, so this guy tried to run us off the road, but I got out and I'm okay. But somebody is up to something. We need to hurry with the procedure before somebody tries to stop you. Just completely not,
Right.
Not,
2 + 2 isn't equaling 4 for this guy.
yeah, not the smartest doctor. And Trenton is like, okay, well, come down to the lab. I'm just about. You should see Amir. It's the procedure's over with. So we see, Gore's body waking up, and Robert is very upset by this. Like,
right?
He's
like, wait, this is supposed to be a good body.
Yeah, you were gonna get a healthy, good body that looked somewhat like Amir was the promise, and this is none of those things. Amir sits up and he's talking like he's Amir,
right?
And
it's Amir's brain, yeah.
Yeah, where's Muhammad?
He's dead. Tracy's like, he's dead.
Yeah, and Trenton's like, don't worry yourself with that now. You need to rest. This procedure took a lot out of you. We've got everything under control. Just rest, and soon we'll have you back in Khalid, and everything will be, good again.
Right. And Amir's like, I want to see my face just to make sure everything's perfect, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he kind of gets a sense that everybody's kind of they're talking to him, but they're kind of grossed out by him at the same time. Yeah. So we get the classic Frankenstein moment of him seeing his reflection.
This is awful. I wish I was dead instead of being in this body temporarily. No.
Yeah, so he starts smashing up the lab. He starts choking Trenton. And Doro rushes in to try to stop him. And he's like, Gore, stop it. Don't hurt our master. And, Amir is confused. He's stumbling around. And Tracy's like, Muhammad is not just dead, he was murdered. There's a plot to discredit you. We need to return to our homeland immediately. And Robert's like, and don't hurt Trenton. There's still work to be done. Maybe this, can be improved. Right. But then Tracy's like, don't listen to Dr. Bob. He's one of them. He's responsible.
Amir just goes bonkers and starts choking Dr. Bob.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think he just kind of knocks him out. And so Amir and Tracy run outside. They try to leave in the car, but of course, as we said, Doro has disabled it. So,
the doc's like, let me grab my sci-fi ray gun / whatever the hell this is and go after Amir.
Mm-hmm. And so upstairs, Tracy's like, we could hitchhike because it's the 70s and people do this.
Yeah, totally.
So they go down to the road, and Trenton is kind of following, and Doro's like, don't worry, they won't get too far.
But also, Doro, take Dr. Bob's body downstairs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, take good care of that body. It may come in handy. So yeah, Doro loves that. He's evilly laughing even as he drags this body that's way too heavy for him to deal with down the stairs.
Right, he's like, hey girl, I brought you a new friend to play with.
Yeah, but of course he gets down there and is like, wait, where'd
she go?
Yeah, where is she? So now he's got to try to find her. And meanwhile, Amir is removing all of his bandages while Tracy is they're doing the classic bait and switch of hot girl tries to get a car to stop, and then the guy will come out and join her. It works. A car stops. One guy gets out, and Amir jumps out and kills him, which causes the driver of the car to be like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, and speeding away.
Right. Instead of just hopping in the car and be like, all right, motherfucker, here's what's happening.
Yeah. So we see Trenton is in the woods trying to find them, and he starts firing this gun he has, which is some sort of sound ray.
Yeah, it's basically like a remote that just messes with Amir's brain.
Yeah, every time he fires it, Amir grabs his ears or clutches his head. It causes him some kind of pain. Tracy's we're just gonna have to keep walking. Maybe we'll find a car further down the road.
Yeah, eventually, right? Mm-hmm. Then Doro, sees the girl, and they get in a tussle, and he's like, I'm gonna inject you with whatever the fuck this is in my hand. Mm-hmm. And she somehow gets the needle out and kills him by just stabbing him with the needle. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's one of the hardest weapons to kill someone with, unless you're going for a super vital organ or there's a lot of air in that needle and you hit a vein.
Yeah. He just falls over dead, and coincidentally, that's right when Robert wakes up. So now we have our two captives down in the basement together. They introduce each other. I'm Bob. Yeah. I'm Catherine. They're like, all right, let's team up. And he's like, oh, you have a wound. A rat bit her earlier. He's like, I can take care of that. So he does that. They go upstairs, and they also find the ruined car. So they're like, all right, we're going to have to walk as well. So now we've got everybody out of the house, everybody,
fucking around in the woods.
And it's clearly just like, somebody's property. They're just kind of wandering in circles around trees and like desert, like scrub. And they're like, we need to find the man that she called Gore.
Right. But Dr. Bob actually gets a real gun instead of just a brain gun. So, all right, we're going to stop Amir/Gore.
Yeah. And she's like, but Gore will kill you. And he's like, no, you don't understand. Things have changed while you're down in the basement. Gore is my friend. And she's like, I don't think something like that can have friends.
Rude, first off.
Yeah. And he's like, but you don't have to, if you're afraid of it, like, you're safe, you're free, you can go. And she's like, no, I don't feel safe out here. I'd rather be with you. We can handle this together. And at least we have each other to protect ourselves.
Right. Cut to little kid running through the scrub forest. Why the fuck his parents let him out that far? Who knows? But this is also a time when parents like regularly beat their kids and didn't give a shit about them. So, Gen X and all that. But then Amir sees the kid, and he just starts screaming, mine, mine, because the kid has a toy gun or blaster gun.
Yeah, so there is still some gore in there, it seems like.
Right.
And so as all this is going on, Tracy is, again, not interested in this whole thing. So she just, leans up against a boulder, smokes a cigarette, just chills. And the kid sees Gore, and is like running and hiding. And he manages to bump into Dr. Bob, and he's like, there's a giant monster chasing me. And Bob's like, oh, great.
I know who that is.
Yeah, so he gives his real gun to Catherine and is like, you stay here, protect the kid. I'm going to go find Amir. Right.
Meanwhile, Tracy's propped up against a rock, and Trenton comes up, and she's like, yeah, I was waiting for you, buddy. The moment Amir grabbed his head, I realized you put a tracker in there.
Yeah. So I figured you'd catch up. And then we eventually, we find Dr. Bob has gone off to find Amir. Somehow Amir has circumnavigated him and gotten to Catherine and the boy without Bob seeing him.
Right. She has the gun, doesn't use it.
Yeah. She's like holding it on him, and he's like, wait, very eloquently, Gore earlier, kind of just grunted and moaned and everything. He was very
said simple words.
Yeah. Whereas he's like, I promise I won't hurt you, but my body is beginning to betray me. And I have people who need me back in my faraway country. I need your help.
Right.
And she's like, oh, just go. I don't want to mess with you, basically. And he's like, I don't know who to trust. Some people are out to get me. But then Trenton's gun goes off again, and he's, grabs his head, falls to his knees. And that kind of seeing him in pain, Catherine feels a little bit of sympathy. She goes to try to comfort him.
Right.
But it seems like maybe Amir is like, oh no, I am interpreting this as that Trenton's gun, whatever it's doing, is is allowing more of the dangerous Gore personality to sort of take over.
Right. Exactly.
So it seems Amir is like, oh no, I'm now a danger to this woman. I don't want her to comfort me. He gets up and runs away to try to protect her.
Right. And as soon as he runs away, Bob comes back.
Yeah, he's back comforting Catherine. Asking, and she's like, who is this? What's the backstory here? What's going on with this guy, this foreign country thing? Meanwhile, we have Tracy and Trenton talking, and he's like, yeah, my weapon is wired into Amir's brain, so I have full control over him. He'll obey me no matter what. And Tracy's like, but you've turned him into a killer monster. That was not the plan.
Right. He's like, yeah, plans change. This was my plan the whole time, basically.
Yeah. We
get a love story between Dr. Bob. Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
Yeah. We have them again, sort of connecting. Bob does admit, like, I helped some of this happen, but I didn't realize I was duped. Basically,
Right.
you know, we thought one thing was going on, but there was ulterior motives that we weren't aware of.
Right. Now we get an interesting, like, we get his Bob's backstory. Like, originally he's from England, but his dad was from Khalid.
And yeah, he moved there, and, like, you know, so he's sort of like a convert, basically.
Right.
But he's like, I've messed things up, you know, no one is going to welcome me back after everything I've done. I've caused all these problems with Amir. And she's like, no, you tried your best. You have people who love you and trust you back home. And he's like, maybe you're right, but I things are too dangerous here. You should take the kid and try to escape. And she's
right.
like,
You know what's a good foundation of love? Trauma bonding.
yeah, exactly.
Because that's exactly what they're doing right now.
Yeah. And, you know, she's like, you know, I'll stay here and protect the kid, but I'm not leaving. So he's like, okay,
I'll get back.
Yeah, so he's going to go try to find Amir again. Meanwhile, Amir finds Tracy, and she, you know, she wants
he's
to know,
holding the toy gun because he found that earlier and was like, mine.
Yeah, but so she doesn't know it's a toy, and so she starts, like, kind of like yelling. You know, she's trying to use whatever, you know, control she has over him to like protect herself and calm him down and everything.
Right. Well, she fucks up by grabbing that gun, though.
So he starts choking her. She's screaming. Trenton hears, runs in with his ray, zaps Amir again, and, you know, Trenton's basically like, I have control of you with this. You're going to give me full control of the country of Khalid. You know, you're going to be my servant. The people of Khalid will think you're the leader, but I'm going to be the
Right.
puppet master controlling you.
You've led for too long. Now you must learn to serve, because he's that awful.
Yeah.
He's awful.
And around that point, Dr. Bob shows up, and he's trying to stop all these evil plans. He's like, you know, I think he's saying this to Trenton, but I think he's trying to convince himself. He says, you know, Amir is dead. This creature is an abortion. Making him was evil. You know, I regret helping you in this, and I'm going to put a stop to it.
Right. Well, yeah, Trenton's like, tough shit. I'm going to have him kill Tracy, then kill you.
Amir is like, wait, Bob, like, don't hurt me, but, like, we can kill Trenton.
Right.
And then together,
like, nope.
we can rule Khalid. And Robert's
Exactly.
like, that doesn't sound like the Amir that I knew and respected. So you're losing yourself. And Amir's like, maybe you're right. And if you are, like, if you have perspective that I'm losing, maybe you should kill me. So Robert does shoot Amir at this point, and he's like, Tracy, run. He runs also, but, you know, Amir is not dead. He's been shot, but he's, you know, it's Gore's body. It's very powerful. One gunshot is not going to do anything.
No, not from that small caliber pistol.
Yeah. So Trenton again uses his ray and commands Amir to chase them down and stop them. And if you capture them undamaged, I can move your brain into Robert's body.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's the plan, right?
So we have a really long chase scene here where Amir is chasing after Bob and Tracy. Trenton is kind of following after them with the ray gun, continuing to just zap him occasionally to keep him in line.
Amir does chase Tracy off a cliff, killing her.
Yeah, she falls to her death. Robert is going to follow Tracy, but Amir gets to him and stops him.
Basically, Robert is trying to stalk Amir, but Amir turns the tables and stalks him.
Yeah. So he does manage to you know, choke Robert unconscious again, carries him back.
Trenton's like, hey, we're going to give you that body. With a little bit of work, Bob's face will look exactly like your old one.
Yep. So we have another surgical scene, the whole process before with the incubator and all that. And then we just cut to, like, later on, Trenton... Amir is back in Khalid. He's giving a press conference. And he doesn't look like Robert. He looks like Amir at the beginning of the movie. So the plastic surgery was successful.
But to let you know that it is Bob's body, we cut to the hand that was injured earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so his press conference is that he is, basically the rumors of my death were greatly exaggerated.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he's like, so I'm starting a new department. We're going to have a Ministry of Science. Khalid is going to move into the 21st or the 20th century or whatever with better technology. That's gonna make us a world powerhouse. And
meanwhile, we're doing cuts of the movie, like basically a small recap of the movie.
Yeah. But so of course this new Ministry of Science is going to be headed up by none other than Dr. Trenton. Together we will find the glorious future that science promises. And I think it's great. Like he's praising science and development and all this stuff, and it's being intercut with all the terrible things that science has done in this movie. Right. And the very last, so we've had, we see bits of the surgery, we see bits of chase scenes and stuff, but the last couple recap shots are just dead body, dead body, dead body. Every person who's died in the movie, we just see a shot of them laying there dead. And then the very last shot of the movie is just Trenton standing there holding a brain in his hands. He has the Khalid, the country of Khalid in his hands. He's in control of everything. And that takes us to credits. So,
man, do you think America would allow a small Middle Eastern country to do this? Hell no.
No. Yeah, like this especially during this time, this would be like, bomb them back to the Stone Age kind of times for America for sure.
If not, just put a CIA agent in there to control Trenton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, destabilize everything.
Yeah. Banana Republics are a thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a pretty cynical movie. Like it is. Yeah. It doesn't really believe that science is good. I think that this is an ongoing thing with Frankenstein movies. Is a lot of people just baseline and interpret the Frankenstein story in general as being anti-science.
Science bad, right? When it's not.
Yeah.
Be a good person. Be a good steward of science.
Yeah. Yeah. In most cases, I think most Frankenstein interpretations think science and advancement and progress are good things if they are done with good intentions and with care and thoughtful response. Yeah, this movie, this ending is not
science
just
bad.
Trenton bad; it is science bad.
Right.
Yeah, and also there's a little bit of distrusting foreign powers for sure. This. Of course, Dracula versus Frankenstein had a lot of that was the one that was very anti-hippie and anti young people wanting to make the future more progressive. So Al Adamson had a very weird politics. He was just very. I don't think he was conservative in the way that we view conservative now. I think he was conservative in the idea that progress usually means bad things are coming.
Right. It doesn't though, but still, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a fear of what would come with progress, a distrust of the bad things that might come, and certainly when things change, there is always the possibility that they will change for the worse. But you got to keep trying. You got to hope that they will change for the better. And I think Al Adamson was if we just leave things alone, let them stay the way they are, the devil kind of thing. At least we know what to expect.
Which hilariously, as far as the medical community is concerned, the future is always better. Mm-hmm. Science always gets better. You get healthier. So the future is always better in that regard. And I do believe that probably his generation saw World War I, they saw World War II, they saw all of the horrors that, we inflicted on ourselves effectively. Mm-hmm. And we're like, oh yeah, that's because of science, not because of some rich asshole.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, the rich asshole is always the bad guy.
Absolutely, 100% of the time. Yeah, so, I understand the motivation here, but as you were saying with medical science being always a good thing, stagnation there is always a bad thing.
Bad thing.
There, if human ingenuity isn't trying to make things better. Just like evolution of like viruses, bacteria, those are going to make things worse. You know, I mean, like COVID. Like, if we hadn't been doing all kinds of advancements to just sort of accidentally be ready for COVID, all of the RNA stuff, we would have been
despite
fucked.
people trying to make us not ready for it.
Yeah, like if we hadn't been advancing, the bad things were going to advance, and things weren't going to stay the same. They were going to get worse.
Right.
So that, you know, science good in that regard for sure.
Right. By the way, if you stagnate or even regress, that's usually when you're dying.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. So, you know, I don't begrudge Al Adamson his, you know, the way that he might feel based on where he came from and how he grew up, but
don't agree with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I love his work. Like, you know, I feel like a lot of people don't. He makes the most low budget trash, but I enjoy it. I think it's fun. Yeah. I feel like he's just a guy doing his best to make weird movies that he's passionate about. I don't remember if we talked about this when we did Dracula versus Frankenstein. He has a crazy backstory. There's a documentary about him that's definitely worth checking out. He had a mysterious death. Like, he died, and there's a lot of weird stuff around that. It's wild.
Yeah,
like
95, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he was murdered, but it was like there's a lot of weird stuff about why, and definitely worth checking out that documentary, which I think is called like The Real Life and Tragic Death of Al Adamson or something like that. But yeah, definitely recommend that. It's, you know, it's way too much to get into here, but if you find his work fascinating, highly recommend it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so I mean, it was definitely interesting. Mm-hmm. Can't say it was good, but it was interesting.
Yeah, that's how I feel every time I watch one of his movies. Is like, I had a good time watching this movie that was very bad.
Right.
So yeah, I enjoy. I love a bad movie that is fun, and he's definitely a master of that.
Fair enough. All right. Well, anything else we have to say about it?
I think that's it.
All right, Anthony. I think we need to take a vacation from Blood Island a little bit. Yeah, but it's going to be a weird day. It's going to be Frankenstein, Day of the Beast.
Yeah, you know, I realized that it's been a little bit since we've actually watched a movie with the word Frankenstein in the title. In fact, I think the last one we watched was like back in February when we did the Lena Meets Frankenstein porn film. So it'll be good to get back to like a movie definitely focusing on Frankenstein, and maybe one a little bit more, you know, true to the spirit of the Frankenstein story than that silly porn film was.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one is one that I have not seen, but I've heard really good things about it. I'm very interested to check it out. So I'm excited to get to that next week.
It'll be interesting for sure. All right, Anthony, where can they find us?
Yeah, so you can find us on all the socials at The Frankencast. You can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. We're also over on YouTube. And, of course, you can always find us at patreon.com/thefrankencast, where we're doing all kinds of fun stuff. And it's a great way to support us monetarily. But, you know, if you don't have the cash for that, you can also join as a free trial, check out some of it, you know, find things that interest you and binge through it during your trial period. You know, we'd just love to share all those bonus episodes with you.
Absolutely. All right, well, thank you once again, and to be continued.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.